Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young, licensed clinical social worker. This is a weekly podcast where we explore the strengths we have because of our sensitivity and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. Welcome to bonus episode 39. I want to talk to you today about, as sensitives, we have this need to connect, and then we tend to have a need to withdraw and pull back. I really think it's just part of our natural rhythm, and we can get so overwhelmed and overstimulated when we're out in the world that we do have a need to pull back. Dr. Elaine Aron suggests that highly sensitive people take 2 hours a day just to not do anything, to really allow ourselves to reset and recharge. I know that's not always feasible for everybody to do for a number of reasons. What comes to mind is moms that have young kids or parents that are raising young children. We just don't always have that luxury. And as usual, I'm sure there are a ton of other groups that I'm not thinking of. If you're caregiving your parents, I'm not even going to try and figure out what those groups are. But what I hear from a lot of HSPs is we go through these times. For me, I call it expansive, where I tend to be more out there. It's when I'm going to jump on and do some bonus episodes. I'm going to return emails. You're going to see me more on Facebook. I'm going to be doing videos. I'll be returning phone calls. And then I go through periods where I'm more contractive. And those are times when I'm not going to be recording podcast episodes. I'm probably not going to be on the phone. I'm going to be doing more quiet activities. I may connect on social media where I don't have to show up. I mean, it looks different for all of us. And I think whether you tend to be more extroverted or introverted, how this looks for you is going to look different. So a couple of things. I think it's easy to label this behavior. I think it's easy to call it depression when we withdraw, or to call it going into our cave. I have a friend who calls it turtling. And you know, if the label works for you, that's fine. And I'm not against labels, but I know that I would often call, when I would have a contracted period, I would refer to it as depression. And I really had to look at that and start seeing, like, am I depressed? Like, no, I'm just needing some downtime. I often think that the language that's used in the general public, we take on as HSPs, we take on labels that don't always fit, but that's kind of another subject. But what I want to talk about is being aware of these rhythms that we have, knowing what our cycles are, and then naming it. I think we've all been in relationships with people that just kind of ghost us for a while, and we figure out how to navigate these relationships. What I find really helpful is when I'm able to communicate, like I'm going into my cave, or I'm going to be withdrawing for a little while. It was really nice this morning. Someone I've been communicating with just sent me a text and said, like, hey, I'm going through a period where I'm withdrawing, and so you're not going to hear from me for a little while. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. Now I'm not going to worry, like, are you okay? Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? I know that this person is taking care of themselves and they're doing exactly what they need right now. And I honored that, and I was able to respond and say, I really appreciate your ability to let me know that you need some time. Take all the time you need. If you can't let me know that you need to take time, that's okay too. But just the fact that this person took the time to communicate really means a lot to me. I've been in relationships with people that they just kind of disappear for periods of time. Now that I have some insight, some perspective, I get that it happens. But when you don't talk about it and you don't know that that's what's going on, it's hard to not take it personally. So I just want to draw attention to it. The other thing is that I think it's really helpful if we think about going into our cave. Do we need to put some twinkle lights in our cave? What do we want to put in our cave that's going to create a sense of safety and nurturing? Do you want soft music? Do you need to have snacks in there? Do you need to have a cozy blanket? Do you want a weighted blanket? That again, it takes the stigma out of something's wrong and I'm withdrawing, as opposed to the world is very loud and stimulating, and I'm going to create a safe place where I can go and recharge and nurture myself. And even with some of my close friends that we talk regularly, that they'll say, I'm going into my cave. And it's like, are you really going into your cave? Or you've had a lot going on recently. You've had some loss, you've had some stress, you've had some things that you don't have control over. Are you just going to that place that's got the sparkly lights and the good snacks and the comfy blankets so that you can recharge and replenish? I think often how we talk about things and how we frame them really makes a difference. And I think we get this negative idea of, I can't show up consistently, I'm flaky, people can't count on me, as opposed to honoring our rhythms as HSPs and knowing that we're going to be out for a little bit and then we need to pull back, and then we come out for a little bit and then we pull back. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame in it. It's how we honor ourselves. And if we don't take time to go into our cave, for me, it's with sparkly lights and it's very dimly lit and it's peaceful and it's very cozy in there. That allows me to recharge. And when I'm recharged, I can come back out in the world and show up and share my gifts. And when my battery starts to get drained, I need to pull back and go back to my cave with the sparkly lights to recharge again. If I don't do that, I'm not going to have anything to do to show up in the world. And for those of you that were listening over the holidays when for 9 long days, my kids and their roommates and girlfriends were here and I lost my workspace, I became irritable and not fun to be around and negative. We have so many gifts to offer the world as highly sensitive people, and we need to be very mindful about creating space that protects our energy levels so that when we can go back to our cave with the twinkly lights or whatever your cave looks like, we recharge so that we can come out and be the best that we can, because we tend to be the emotional glue that holds our families together. People really count on us. And when we take that time to nurture ourselves, it allows us to come back and shine for the people around us. My invitation to you is to think about what are your rhythms and to just start being more mindful. How is it that you language it, or what is it that you tell yourself when you have that need to pull back? Do you have negative messaging around it, or do you see it as you're going to your warm, cozy cave with the twinkly lights? Are you able to communicate with other people? Again, it's so easy as highly sensitive people to take information and to add it to the shame banks that we have. And we tend to have a lot of shame. We've gotten a lot of messaging about why it's not okay for how we show up in the world. And the last thing I would want anybody to do is to take anything that I say and to use it to beat yourself up with, or to go to a place of shame. But maybe to just be curious about, if you do pull back from relationships, are they relationships that would benefit if you were able to say like, hey, I'm going to pull back for a little bit. I'm going off the grid for the weekend, or whatever language works for you. Would it enhance your relationships if you were able to communicate that? Can they tolerate that? Do the other people know that this is what you do? Do you have shame? Do you tell yourself that you're flaky and inconsistent? How can you look at what your rhythms are and honor them, honor yourself, if it would help your relationships to start communicating about what your needs are and what you're doing? It adds richness, it adds depth, it adds a sense of trust and security with the people that you're close to. It's just something to be mindful of. If these are things that you struggle with, if there are other things about being a highly sensitive person that are difficult for you or challenging, you're trying to figure out how to get balance, how to not overthink, anything like that, I do provide online therapy for people who live in California. We meet online on a platform similar to Skype, but it's secure. I offer a free 20-minute consultation. I really encourage folks to jump online and have the experience of what it's like. No obligation at all. The great thing about online therapy is, especially as a highly sensitive person or people that are busy or creatives, you do it from the comfort of your own home. Sometimes people will park in their car somewhere. You can do it at work, at the studio. If you've got kids, you can do it while the kids are napping or when they are at school. If you've got animals, you can have your animal on your lap. You can have a warm cup of tea or coffee. It really is amazing, and it really is helpful for HSPs because it's one less thing that you have to leave the comfort of your home for to deal with traffic to get somewhere. If you're interested, go to Patricia Young, LCSW.com. We have an amazing Facebook group called Unapologetically Sensitive. You can follow me on Instagram at unapologetically sensitive. I love hearing from you guys. The support for this podcast has been amazing. I'd love to hear questions, comments, feedbacks at unapologeticallysensitive@gmail.com. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.